Okay, so we have our means for each group, and then below that, the standard deviation. And so for white light, mean 7.5, standard deviation 1.96. Now we're going to take and compare that information to the mean of the dark group, right? And so we could just look at these two numbers. 7.5 is bigger than 2.3. So it seems like there is probably a difference there, but what we want to do is do a t-test with this, which is a way to do a statistical inference to show that there's a very kind of small probability that this difference is just due to chance, right? And so the t-test, this is a way to compare two groups to each other. So you can only compare two groups at a time. So we're going to do a number of different t-tests to be able to look at all our data. And so to do the t-test here, you can see this first one, we're going to do positive versus negative control. So you do equals because it's a function, then the t-test function, which should come up as you start to type it. And you're going to do enter array 1, array 2, then some other information afterwards. And so this is showing you kind of how to go about the t-test. And so array 1, this is just our group 1. And when we do a t-test, we want to enter all the numbers. We're not using this mean and standard deviation. We're using all the data that was collected. So we're going to highlight that whole column for our positive control. Then I'll do a comma. Now we can do the same thing and highlight the negative control, right? So these are the two sets of data that we're comparing to each other. I'll do another comma, then we want to do tails, and we're going to do a two-tailed distribution. Generally, a two-tailed distribution is going to be correct. And so you can, if in doubt, do a two-tailed distribution. And then for the other part, this is more information about the type of test. We're going to, again, use the number 2 and do the two-sample equal variance. Put your parentheses and enter, and then we're going to get a number here. And so this here is our p-value. So in t-test, on Excel, the only value it gives you is the p-value. And you may remember some info about the p-value from before. Basically, if it's a really small p-value, that tells us there's a significant difference between our groups. If the p-value is a larger number or really just over 0.05, it tells us that there's no significant difference between our groups, right? And so here you can see this is in scientific notation. You can change it to number if you want up here, and we can, make it bigger. I'm going to do this just so we can see it for a second. So you remember in scientific notation, it was like -17, I think. And so this is a really tiny number here. And so it is less than 0.05. And so we can say, yes, there's a significant difference between the positive and negative controls, right? I can move this over so we can see what I just typed in there. Significant difference because this is such a small number. I'm going to go back to the scientific notation. It's a little bit easier with all those zeros. Okay, and so what you'll do is finish these t-tests for each of these groups. Now, with this one, they were right next to each other, the two columns. Some of these other ones aren't, so make sure you're highlighting, the right columns. So here we have a positive control, and the no potassium. So again, we're going to highlight the positive control, but this time we're going to jump over here to the yellow column. But for all of these, you'll do 2 and 2 afterwards for the tails and the type of test. All right, and so now we have another really small number here. And so you'll finish that up. Note that, you know, it's positive control, no potassium, positive control, blue, ABA, positive control, then the blue light. In the last one, you're doing the negative control, so you'll do the purple column in the blue light. And so once you've done all of those, you can answer some of the questions about the differences, whether there are differences between the groups or not. And remember, you want to think about that p-value. If it's really small, then you can say, yes, there are significant differences between the groups. If you, after you do this, if you get a, you know, a number that's over 0.05, like something like that, oops, that is not going to be a significant difference. Okay, and then the other thing that you'll need to do is make your graphs. So we'll do that in a moment.